Welcome to Surrender School.
All right, so welcome everybody. I'm glad you're here. Today we are here for Supercharge Your Recovery 2.0, also known as Part B. The tagline for it is fewer questions, deeper answers. So the idea is until we get to step 4, the homework is relatively easy. Easy as in there's a question or a quote for you to work on or whatever. But the expectation is that it will, if you sit down to answer that question, it will drive you deeper than even 1.0 did. Okay. Each week, I don't know if you take notes or not, but many of the weeks, we're going to ask you to do some writing, some of the weeks anyway. So be sure that you have a pen and paper. I personally like to have a beautiful journal and a really nice pen that really flows nicely. That is what I suggest for you guys. All right. So here is what we are doing these 17 weeks. We have finished the first 2 weeks. And what is up here are the topics. You notice at the top it says, what is the step? What is the week number? We are on week 3 right now. It has the date and what step it is. And then it has a topic. And that's the topic that I'm covering. And then you will do homework on. And then you will share next week on that topic. So our topics today, if you see this, right, are intellectual to embodied and ego self to relationship. Those are the 2 topics I'm talking about today. You're doing homework on during the week and sharing on next week. So this week you are sharing on embodied presence and healthy separateness, which was your homework from week 2. Okay. The mission statement for Surrender School. At Surrender School, we recover. Our mission is to share 12-step and other supportive recovery solutions with those who want a healthy relationship with food. We are not an official 12-step meeting, but we do adhere to the spirit of the traditions because all of us are 12-steppers. Okay. Let's take a moment to feel your breath going in and out and to feel your feet on the floor. Be as present as you can be. Don't think about what happened before this morning or yesterday or what's going to happen tomorrow. Just be as present as you can be right now. And let's say the Surrender School set-aside prayer together. God, help me to set aside everything I think I know to leave space for what I have yet to learn. All right, so today is session 2A, so we are beginning to talk about step 2. The date is February 15th. Obviously, this is Supercharge Your Recovery 2.0, also known as Part B. I do want to point out that we are changing the sequence of things from the last 2 weeks. We are changing them because we are going to do topic 1 first, then the breakout rooms, then topic 2. A couple of reasons for that. It does help people. We'll do topic 1, and then there's some sharing on that, and it kind of loosens things up. So when people go into the breakout rooms, everybody's kind of ready to share. If I just say, okay, we're here 5 minutes now, let's go into the breakout rooms, it's a little shocking. And so we want to ease people into that. Human beings like that. So we're going to do that. The other reason is it puts a lot of pressure on the person building the breakout rooms because they can't be built in advance. So it makes it easier for Lori to build those breakout rooms when I give her a little bit of time. So we're going to give her a little bit of time. So this will be the sequence. It was interesting when I went to go change everything from, week 7 on already had it that way. So I must have originally planned to do that because I've created the PowerPoints for all the weeks already. Okay. And then at the very end, I do give a homework assignment so you know exactly what it is that you're doing. You can stay on after. If anybody's having any trouble finding the homework, just stay on afterward and we'll walk you through it again. And maybe even watch you do it so that you can find it easily. All right. So topic 1 that I am going to cover is called intellectual to embodied. And it basically is, how do we take our, I'll say knowledge, from our head to our heart? How do we take it from, yeah, I know this, to now I can feel this, right? And there's a deeper knowing kind of there. So let's talk about step 2. Step 2 basically says in the 12 steps that we came to believe that a power greater than myself this is obviously I rewrite these to the way I look at them. Came to believe that a power greater than myself could and would restore me to my true self. I don't think I've ever been truly insane, although my husband might disagree with that. All right, so the first part I want to talk about is just came to believe. The idea of came to believe, it is not an instantaneous thing, right? It takes time and it takes effort to be able to come to believe these things. And it's interesting because there's many people who believe beliefs are like that they are something more than like they're not related to a practice. However, what I found in my life is beliefs are absolutely related to a practice. Some of them are beliefs that I thought were the truth. I didn't realize they were beliefs, but they're beliefs that came from childhood. They came from childhood traumas. They came from childhood lessons. They're so deeply embedded in me. And to me, they're not in the head. They are absolutely in the heart. So, and that's part of it is realizing, oh, this is a belief. Does it serve me to keep this belief, right? So this came to believe. It takes time and effort, and I think most of us do. I think because we work the steps, we realize that even those of you that came to Supercharge 1.0 last year, right? As we're kind of working through that, it's like we hit about steps 6 and 7, right? We're in through that, and it's like people are like, "Oh my gosh, I've changed. I've grown. My beliefs have changed, right?" And that's because of the work. All right. So a couple of things to ask yourself is, do I want to believe this? Because a lot of the decision to believe, because there is a decision for sure, right? The decision to believe, basically, do I want to believe this? And in some cases, some of my beliefs did not serve me at all, and I do not want to keep them. So I'm working to basically alter those beliefs. All right. The other question is, am I doing the work? And that is more than just attending meetings. I used to sponsor people in OA. I don't anymore, but I used to sponsor people, and they would be frustrated because they weren't changing, they weren't growing, they were still compulsively eating, binging, sometimes purging, and they couldn't change anything. And they're like, but I go to meetings. And I'm like, yeah, the meetings are great, but that is not the work. The work is working the 12 steps because that's what makes it personal. Otherwise, it's just listening to other people. I'm not saying it's not important to listen to other people. For them, it's important. For the people we're listening to, because we are a witness to what they're going through. But for us, it's important too, because we pick up these, oh, okay, that's interesting. Or I don't believe that. That's really interesting belief. Or, oh, wow, okay, that's cool. That's good. I'm not saying meetings aren't good, obviously. That's the reason we have Surrender School. But the work itself, your own personal work, is where the majority of the growth comes from, especially if you can take what's shared in the meeting and kind of incorporate that into your work. But it is literally the work. And here, that's why we give homework. Go do that. Some people, I mean, you can do it in 10 minutes, or you can do it in 3.5 hours, or 3 days if you want to. I mean, it just depends on how deep you want to go. But the question that you ask yourself is, am I doing the work? Now, right? I do. This is the other piece to understand, and this is why you can have compassion for yourself. I do the work that I can bear. So some people come to meetings and don't do the work, and it's okay because you do the work that you can bear. I'm going to ask you to push yourself a little, but don't push yourself a lot because I don't know. I mean, it doesn't work that way. I don't know why. It's like you can't, if grass, it takes time for grass to grow. You can't pull on the shoots to get it to grow faster. You just can't do that. So you do the work that you can bear, and then you give yourself compassion for doing that amount of work, whatever that amount of work is. Okay. Okay. The next part of this is greater power. There's a quote from Hamlet that says, there are more things, Horatio, in heaven and earth than are dreamt of in your philosophy. And I think for us to believe that we know, I mean, it's like a Venn diagram that says, this is what I know, and this is what I don't know, and this is what I know, and this is what I don't know, and that is everything else. I mean, it is everything. So for us to in any way believe that we know a lot about anything is pretty conceited because we don't know jack shit. And so what we do is we trust and we learn and we listen and we do the work. That's what we do. To me, that what I don't know, I think Dave, you used this analogy before. I don't know if you're here. I didn't see all the people coming in, but it's like I am a drop of water and God is the ocean. Does the drop of water have a relationship to the ocean? Yeah, in the ocean. Does the drop of water know everything about the ocean? No. Is it supposed to? No, it's not. So what happens is if I can view myself as that drop of water that is cared for and related to and all of this, that great giant ocean, I'm good. It's when I feel like I'm separate from that that I have that I basically have my problems. So once again, if I can come to believe that this greater power, that there is such a thing. Now, some people, I'm not sure how people, I do know people who are atheists and agnostics that do great in the 12 steps. So I'm not saying that you have to believe what I believe in anyway. Matter of fact, I'm whatever's the opposite of evangelical. I think everybody's supposed to have your own view of that. But I do think if we can embrace the fact that there are things that we don't understand and things that we will never understand and things we're not supposed to understand, but I can take them on faith. And to me, that is what the greater power here is. There is something for an eight, the Enneagram 8, which I am, which wants to be in control of everything. The hardest part for me coming to program, because I wasn't raised in any way religious or anything like that, the hardest part for me is for me to come to believe that there is a benevolent entity that cares about me, that takes care of me so that I don't have to. And the it's like the second that I can believe in that, and right, then then life is good. And it's interesting too because I listened to, I didn't remember where I heard this, but they were saying the opposite of faith is not doubt. You're supposed to doubt because it's in that doubting that you can learn more, right? But so the opposite of faith is fear. To be afraid, right? It's like, okay, so when I'm afraid, right, I talk to God, and I don't hear a voice that answers me, except in the morning when I first wake up. I'll hear a voice nudging me to do things, but it's my own voice. It just comes from inside of me, which is where my greater power resides. Okay. All right. I want to talk about why I added and would. I think could and would goes deeper than just could, and I want to talk about how I moved from and why I had to move from a greater power could restore me to sanity, and I moved to could and would restore me, is because I came to believe relatively early that there was such a thing as God. I came to believe that right, but the idea that he was in any way interested in what I was doing, I had to work on that one. I mean, I understand that he could do anything he wants to do, I guess, but why would he do? Why would he help me? Why would he even bother? Right? And so I needed to believe deeper, and I needed to believe that this benevolent entity does care about me and does right. And so I was fortunate enough that the first 14 years of program, I had a wonderful sponsor, and I think she was the living embodiment of God, because she loved me no matter how weird I got, no matter how belligerent I got, no matter how what a, I mean, a complete asshole, and she would love me anyway. And it was a lovely, yeah, it was a lovely relationship. And she's still a friend of mine. She's no longer my sponsor, but she's still a dear friend. And it has been such a blessing for me to have her in my life. Here's two things that I think need practice in order for this to come together. And the first is to practice believing that there is such a thing as a greater power, and to practice believing in your own worth. That has not been a problem of mine, but for many friends of mine, it's like they doubt, and maybe even my saying, why would he help me? Maybe that was even a type of not believing that I'm worthy of this attention from this greater power. And I think so much of it, that's so important, that we believe that we are worthy of that. And that's the work of a lifetime right there. I mean, it truly is. All right. I want to tell a quick story, and then we're going to do an exercise, and then we'll share. All right. So years and years ago, I don't even remember, this would have been probably in the 80s. This book, Awaken the Giant Within, came out by Tony Robbins. And I'm a fan of his. He's a 3, like absolutely a 3. But I have always, I like him. I think he's a genuinely nice person, and I like him. But anyway, so I got this book, and there's a section, I don't remember what part it's in, but this is the book that it's in. And what he talks about is that your mind remembers more than mind remembers more than you remember, because your mind is picking up all kinds of things that you're not focused on, so you don't remember them. So I'm going to tell you a story that I used for this, and it really taught me a lot. Okay, so back in 1981, I was married, and we had a big reception. We didn't dress like this. This was like, and we weren't this old. It looks like, 1880s or something. But anyway, but it was this big reception, 400 people, and it was really fun. It was a great evening. And so we're going to have the bride's dance. Now, just a little history. I did not, um, I knew that my husband never learned to dance. I learned to dance. I had World War II relatives that taught us the foxtrot and the waltz and all this. So I knew how to dance, but my husband did not. And so I had gone to the DJ and just said, don't do a bride's dance, just skip to a family dance or something. So I'm standing there talking to somebody, and suddenly the guy goes, we're going to do a bride's dance. And I'm thinking, what is this asshole doing? I don't want to do a bride's dance. And my husband walks up to me and kind of puts his hands out, and I'm like, okay. And he waltzed with me. And it was just beautiful because he had taken dance lessons so that he could dance with me at my wedding. It was lovely. So I have this beautiful memory. I can't even describe how happy that made me. My heart leapt into delight. And so the Tony Robbins thing, this is what I want to talk about. He had me go to this happy moment, this perfectly, wonderfully happy moment, and just be there again. And as we spun around the room, right, I'm seeing the people who are at these 400 people that are, because everybody stands around and watches the dance, right? And I'm seeing, as we're spinning, I'm seeing all these people, and I'm thinking, and I asked my sister, did Billy come to my wedding? And she goes, well, yeah, he was there. And she talked a little bit about it. And I realized, peripherally, etc., I am seeing all these things, and it came back to me. My mind remembered all these people here, even though that was not my focus. My mind captured it, right? Which then allows me to capture the perfection of that moment of sheer happiness. I'll tell you what we're going to do now. We are going to do a visualization. And let's see if you all can participate in this visualization. Everybody ready for that? Are you good? Get comfortable. All right. This is going to take about 5 minutes. And I'll try to make it not Cher's 5 minutes. 5 minutes. I'll try to make it a real 5 minutes. Okay, I'd like everybody to get comfortable. Put your feet on the floor, or if they're up in the air, that's fine. You want to close your eyes and just get kind of comfortable. And I want you to remember a moment when you were happy, truly happy. Ignore whatever followed that. Just recapture that one moment when you were truly happy. Maybe it was truly only a moment. Maybe it's a sunset or a sunrise. Maybe it's a simple hike in the woods. Maybe it's the first time you held your child or grandchild. Just capture that one moment. Let go of anything before and any disappointment or sadness that followed. You are capturing one free and lovely moment. Pick that one happy moment. And now be in that moment. Now that you're in that moment, notice in that moment where your hands are. Notice any sounds that you hear. Are you warm or cold? Notice any smells. Be as present to that happy moment as you can be. Let's stay here for a couple minutes noticing things. In your mind, look around a little. Look around a little at this moment. You saw more than you remembered that you saw. Go deeper. Notice one thing that you didn't remember before. Now take a moment and let yourself feel that happiness again. Feel it deep in your soul. Okay, come back to me. All right, so a couple of questions that we're going to share on now is, were you able to feel the moment of happiness? And by the way, if you were, you took it from head to heart. That's what you did. And that's going to end up being your homework for next week, by the way, one of the pieces of homework. All right, I'm going to stop sharing. Raise your hand if you'd like to share on this. See if you were able to do that. Go ahead, Amy.
I'm crying because it was so wonderful. And I thank you so much for giving me that gift today. So wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, that's how I felt too. Yeah, when that happened to me, because I didn't even realize that it picked up all this information that I did not know. It was wonderful. Yeah. And I don't know why I don't do that all the time. I don't though. But yeah, thank you. You're welcome very much. Go ahead, Teresa.
Yes, I was able to capture that moment, and I don't know, just say if we felt it, or do you want what the experience was, or
Whatever you want to talk about.
yeah, I'll probably start crying over it. But yeah, the day that my son, he must have been about 2, and I remember saying, I will never forget this moment, and that's the moment I went back to after 12 years trying to have him and a lot of stuff, but was when he was putting his head on my shoulder and we both fell asleep in this chair. And I remember the smell and like that moment was one of the best moments. And thank you for sharing that because I needed to go back to that happy moment. Thank you. That was beautiful.
Thank you, Teresa. And I think sometimes we forget, and I will say fours for sure, forget that there is such a thing as happy moments. All of us do, though.
Yeah.
We forget that. We get so busy with
Yeah.
life, right? And
Mhm.
it's like, yeah, to be able,
Yeah.
I took care of my niece when she was a baby and her daughter when she was a baby as well. And I just that precious, that little precious
Yeah.
life, just, and they're so trusting and yeah,
Mhm.
so wonderful. And
Aw.
especially since you worked so hard to have him, right? To have that
Yeah.
just moment of perfection like that. Yeah, Teresa, thank you for sharing that. That's
Thank
lovely.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Freddie, to you.
Thank you so much for this experience. Mine was from a few years ago when I went to Seattle, and I got on I may have shared this before. I got on the ferry, which I live in the desert, so Seattle is like my heartbeat, and it was always on my bucket list to go there. And I was there for 2.5 days, and I just usurped everything I could out of that experience, and just so that was my memory. It took me instantly back there and feeling the water. Not only was it raining, because that's what Seattle does, but just the mist off the ocean and the sound of the barge and the seagulls. I mean, and I'm so glad that Amy mentioned crying, because I thought, oh my God, like this is supposed to be happy. Why am I sitting here crying? But yeah. And I'm still very like moved by it. And it's so moving to me because it's the last time I really felt free. Because that 2.5 days was my magical time. And I think the sadness is a fear of I won't have that happiness again. So thanks.
And I think too, because some of this, I'm not saying you, Freddie, because I don't know, but I do think with me at least, I will judge myself because I should be, right? I have all these things and I have all this, I should be happy every minute. It's like that's so unrealistic. So there's a like that judgment on ourselves. But I do think there are things to learn from this experience, this happy experience, right? And one of the things to learn is, what part of me is that touching that I feel the need to cry? And and I don't cry much, but I'll tell you, I mean, I cried over this. I mean, Amy, I heard you because it's the same thing. I was just like, oh my God, I can relive that. I can see all these people that I love. And remember, I had 26 cousins, and some of those people had kids. And then I was working, and Nick was working, and he's like royalty in South Omaha. So he's related to everyone. And we had like 400 people. And when I went there, I could see these people. Some of them had passed. It was just like, it was just amazing because as a matter of fact, the moment was so unbelievably happy. But beyond that was even more happiness, right? That it was just like, oh, it was so precious. And I think it's like we don't, and that's because we keep things in our head, and this exercise to take it into your heart, right? But then go, why don't I live like this? I don't know. I wish I man, I could be rich if I knew how to make yourself live like that. But I don't know how to do that. But we can still have those moments, and that's beautiful. So Freddie, thank you for sharing that. When you were talking about it, it reminded me the first time I went to Sydney, Australia. I went by myself, and I went to see Pirates of Penzance. They had one seat left. I took that seat, and I'm sitting there. And afterward, I walked out, and it was misting softly, and it was so perfect. And I said, I can't do this job without my husband. And we retired him, and he traveled with me. So for a decade, my husband and I traveled the world together, and it was wonderful. But I knew I couldn't do that otherwise. So even something like that, it was so unbelievably perfect. But I knew I needed to share it. I wanted to share it. He always wanted to travel, and I never did. And here I had the travel job. It worked out, though. It was good. Thank you for sharing that. All right, Melissa, to you then, Jim. Go ahead, Melissa.
Okay, you know I won't get through this without crying. My mind went to the moment we got engaged. And it was in Sedona, Arizona, a very special place to me. And Andrew was trying to get engaged to me, and he had arranged all these things, and they kept on not working. A hot air balloon, we couldn't do it because the winds weren't cooperating. He was crestfallen. He organized a helicopter ride. His mic wasn't working. He couldn't propose to me So the third thing was a Jeep tour, which I remember saying to him, I would never want to do something like that. Hot, smelly Jeep in the dust. Why? And the poor guy was like, just go with it. Okay. So we went and we're out and looking at Native American cave dwellings, and it was beautiful. And he was acting weird all weekend. And I knew something was up. I knew it because I just knew he was acting weird. And it was a very romantic place we were staying. And the Indiana Jones guy, he looked like Indiana Jones, taking us around on this Jeep. He goes, here's a watering hole. You guys, cattle used to be led here. Why don't you go and look around? And he dropped us off like little kids. And we get out of the Jeep, and we're walking around, and Andrew turns to me with tears in his eyes, and he starts to say something really romantic about how he's wanted this, he wants to do this, he wants a life with me. And I knew what he was asking, and I wish I would have let him talk more. I wish I would have heard his whole spiel, but I was so quick to get that ring on my finger. I go, yes, I want to marry you, And the Jeep guy was taking a picture of this moment, and he's down on his knee in the dirt, and and I just was I felt like we were doing something, we were making a decision together. And it was a very private moment. It wasn't Instagram. It wasn't like all these photographers standing and when I see pictures of it, I'm like, oh my God, I should have worn something cuter because it's a stupid outfit. Whatever. I'm losing the moment when I judge it like that. It was perfect. And I felt like we weren't on the planet anymore. It was him and me making a decision. And when we came home from that trip and we're sitting on the bed, I started to cry. And I said, I feel like you're going to take me back to the pound. Like I didn't feel worthy. And I'm glad you mentioned that about worthy, because that's gotten in the way of my spiritual life, not feeling worthy. And for somebody to say, no, they're picking me. He's actually picking me right now. And he wants the whole thing. He wants the whole whopperdoodle. That was a profound moment. And I want to remember that all the time when we're having our, little snafus and, hiccups and everything like that. But thank you. And I couldn't remember any other detail when you said, can you remember new things? Nope. I still see the dirt. I see the Indiana Jones hat. I see my stupid outfit. I see everything, but I see that ring on my finger. And you know what? And it was our perfect moment. Who cares? I'm not trying to be a magazine. I'm trying to be real. And that's what matters. Thanks.
Thank you, Melissa. Yeah, and I think that idea, I think as I was working on this is the first time that it came up, that whole idea of our feeling of worth, related to our view of our greater power. Those are related issues. And I hadn't, until I started working on 2.0, I really never thought that through. But it's just so important that I believe I am worthy of that.
I am so glad you highlighted that, because if I can't get to a place to remember that my benevolent power really cares about me, really just me, not in a global way, me, he's for me, he cares about me, he loves me, he won't drop me. And I couldn't get there. I couldn't get there until I had to rework my view. So thank you for bringing the worth part, because that's everything. Everything.
Yeah. Thank you, Melissa. Okay, Jim, to you.
Thanks, Chair. When I was had my eyes closed and listening to your prompts and so on, I realized I didn't have any memories. The memories that I have are, okay, so everyone who knows me from the group, dysfunction, family, narcissistic mother, and so on. These memories are someone else's memories. How they determine you remember those moments, childhood moments, Christmas, for example. It's the only decent time of the year where there's happiness. It's happiness that's caused by someone. It's happiness that it's the only happy moment because the adult in the room, it's the only time they're happy. And I think it's their, now that I'm an adult, now I've been going through these healing processes, it's because that Christmas time is the only time they experienced happiness. That's how that's how they like the Grinch steal Christmas. So what made me realize that the memories are not my own, the happiness memories, is when I created points in my own life that were happy moments. My graduation, when I finished my undergrad course, a happy moment in my life. But eventually I realized that the narcissist takes those moments as their own when they articulate to the wider dysfunctional family, yeah, my son's really good. Doesn't that just show how wonderful my family is? When in actual fact, no, it's not my choice, my decision, my achievement have nothing to do prompts from the family of origin. They were my choices. It was my decision. The memory kind of gets took from you, because I look back on my graduation photographs and I have none of myself, but it's everyone else. All the dysfunctional people.
So I'm going to give you something to think about, because the point of this exercise is taking this one small moment and expanding it for yourself. So in that moment, when you're excited, before your mom has said anything, before anybody said anything, you are happy. And what we want to do is take that and expand it for ourselves before your mother took it away, because frankly, that has nothing to do with you. That is their own fucking problem. That has nothing to do with you. This is still yours. It belongs to you. And I think you just need to reclaim it and then expand on it. And I mean, all the rest of it, this is, once again, view from the cheap seats as an 8. I do this. This is what I do. That, not mine. I don't care. Do whatever you want. Go run in traffic. I don't give a shit. It's not my business, right? So it's like, for me, it's the same thing there. It was a joy to see all these people. I had a cousin who got drunk and did what, I don't remember any of that shit. I don't want to remember it. Yes, it happened at my wedding reception. I don't care. Nobody killed anybody. We all came out of it alive. I'm good. Right. So it's like, but I think what's happening, Jim, is you're allowing other people's behavior to rob you of that joy. And we don't want to do that. We want to keep that. That one little kernel can expand to beautiful things. But once again, that's the reason that the visualization says, don't think about what happened before. Don't think about what happened after. Don't think about what you lost after that, because that one moment is a seed that can grow. And that's what we want to do. Does that make sense, Jim?
Yep.
Okay, good.
Perfect.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. All right, Joy, to you, and then Michelle. Go ahead, Joy.
This was very interesting for me because I could think of some significant moments, And what's really interesting now that Eric's in Indiana, my moments were with my husband, and of course, several of them that came to mind. But what I also realize is that I am really happy most of the time. So it's very hard to choose moments. I'm happy most when I'm present. And I didn't even know that before. Like I I didn't even know that I was feeling happy. And I will give you an example. I'm really happy right at this moment. And a lot of times during this meeting, I'm working on the website or trying to get things updated, and I'm not. I've just been paying attention and I feel really happy. And then I went to yesterday, just when my I wasn't very nice to my husband, and he just ignored it and did what I wanted anyway. And it made me, and when he did that, I just felt so happy. And so, like, of course, when I'm appreciated, I still want that from the outside. I feel happy, right? I'm just feel happy. I think I can expand almost any moment. Even this moment, it's like, what else can I take in from all my senses right now? What is
Yep.
this affecting right now in me? And how is it consuming me? Because I think I can use it when my cravings come out, when I see myself going to the food, go back to this happiness and take it all in. So yeah, that's really neat. Just like to, because I don't pay attention so much. I'm into the feeling, but I'm learning to stop and take it all in. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay.
Ready.
All right. So Michelle, go ahead, and then we're going to go to the breakout rooms.
The exercise was really great. So thank you for just for and whoever did it, if you did it, like even doing this kind of stuff is brave. So yay for us. The one moment I found what I did was I thought of like something like that just happened, and then I was like, was that a good enough moment? And then I was like, so this is, I think, the four in me. I was like, is that a good enough one, or should I pick that one? And then you
Yeah.
made some suggestions, and I was like, oh, maybe it should be something like that. Anyway, so it's like a mind. I realize the activity is head to heart. Stop and thinking, Michelle, is what I needed to do. But I can see all of that very clearly now. My brain was going back and forth. It's like I do all that judging. Let me see. I basically, even in that moment, I am the one who chooses to give it away and not stay savoring the moment. And I know that the activity, and this is a practice. I don't know if it's like a Buddhist practice or whatever. But it's this idea of savoring. So like a good thing, to like hold on to it, like make it bigger, so that it's like creating that new pathways, right? And I am really good at sabotaging joy and all happiness in every moment. So even it's hard for me to like find a time, but I do, and what Joy said just helped me too, is like when I gave birth to my kids, and even then I was like, ooh, do I pick the first kid, the second kid, the third kid? It was different. Even that, I'm like too much in my freaking head, right? But when I was able to like feel all the good things, um, I felt it, and I didn't want to leave either. I don't know if anybody else didn't want to leave, but I didn't want to really leave. I kind of was like, can I just stay here? This feels like a happy place, And anyway, I guess I just want to say, yeah, I can mess it up by my own thinking, right? And it ends up being like this choice, like the monks. I don't know if anybody followed the monks from Texas to DC, but like it's my peaceful day. And he says, don't mess it up. You're the only one who can mess it up by giving it away. And so it's like no matter what happens, can I just stay more present, right? And just yeah, even the good stuff, like, can I not mess up the good stuff just by like enjoying it, and not anyway. Thank you. I'll pass.
Thank you. And I want to say that even the ability to savor and the way that we savor is type specific. It's very type specific. So I expected this to be more difficult for the fours, not because they're not happy, but because they have to pick a time. They have to like narrow it down to something. And I had some other things that weren't as dramatically beautiful as as the bridal dance with my husband. That was a monumental good thing, right? But so many, matter of fact, this week, I'm going to try to do this with some of the little beautiful things. Like the first time I saw my little niece, and she's an 8. She turns 50 this year. It's astounding, and she is so precious to me. And I have so many memories with her. So many. One time she said to me, "Hey, Aunt Cher, you know that some words have other bad words in them, like garbage, garbage." That cracks me up. I didn't correct her. All right. The breakout rooms are now 25 minutes long. I listen to you. We are doing step 1, sections 3 and 4, which is last week's assignments. And I think 3 didn't have a question. It was just kind of something to think about and work on. And then 4 had a question. So the topics were embodied presence, which is kind of what we just did in a way, and then healthy separateness. So whatever you want to share on those two, you can read the little topic, like the question, if it's a question, or the topic that you're thinking about, because keep in mind that your type specific stuff is different than other people's type specific stuff. So they won't know what you're talking about if you don't read that. So that's why you kind of begin with that. All right, Lori, if you are ready.
Thank you. Here we go.
Thank you, everybody. Okay, so in theory, at least, you covered either embodied presence or healthy separateness. And now we are going to move on to topic 2, which is moving from your type self to relationship with your greater power. Because once again, we are in step 2, which is the introduction to power greater than ourselves. I'm going to tell the story of a movie, and that movie is Pride and Prejudice, the 2005 version of Pride and Prejudice. Okay, so the way it starts is he says something rude or something, and she feels betrayed by him. She avoids him. She doesn't want to have anything to do with him. And then he professes his love to her, and she basically tells him to pound sand, not in like a very British accent. Anyway, and then so she does not want a relationship with him. And then she realizes how kind he has been to 2 of her sisters. He's like beyond kind to 2 of her sisters. So she realizes his kindness. And then she basically falls in love with him. And so did I. And then at the end, they now have a relationship. And frankly, that's the way our relationship usually goes with our greater power as well. First, we feel either betrayed, or we feel disinterested, or we feel something that is not good. And then we determine somewhere along the line that we don't want a relationship, if such a thing even exists. And then we begin to see the grace in our lives. And as we see the grace in our lives, we can fall in love with our greater power, and then we work to have a relationship. So, and you don't have to see Pride and Prejudice now. If you haven't seen it, you don't have to see it, you know. Okay, what I want to talk about is, here is why we continue to work on a relationship with a greater power. Here is why we do it. And this is from the big book. We will see that our new attitude toward alcohol, food, whatever is your thing, has been given us without any thought or effort on our part. It just comes. That is the miracle of it. We're not fighting it, neither are we avoiding temptation. We feel as though we have been placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected. We have not even sworn off. Instead, the problem has been removed. It does not exist for us. We are neither cocky nor are we afraid. That is our experience. That is how we react, so long as we keep in fit spiritual condition. So all those lovely things, which are the step 10 promises, by the way, all those lovely things, that is how we react so long as we keep in fit spiritual condition. So even though we may come up with all kinds of other reasons on why it's important for us to have a relationship with God more than anything else, it's because if we have a fit spiritual condition, we get all of these promises and all of the step 9 promises. So keeping in mind awareness, acceptance, and action, celebrate our victories. I changed that from what is wrong with me to what is wrong. So the Eeyore thing says, what is wrong, right? Instead of that, use your mantra. And I think Richard posted the mantras this morning on WhatsApp. Also across from the very first video that's there for 2.0 are the mantras. And so the idea is we are both, but use your mantra, because replace that with this search for whatever. I'm quoting this from step 1, type 4. I just thought it was so beautiful. Step 1 becomes a celebration of wholeness, not a search for what is missing. I think that's awesome. Okay, so let me give you your homework. Note that your relationships are type specific. Actually, virtually everything is type specific. Here is your homework for next week. Read step 2. If you've already read step 2, that takes you 10 minutes, if that. And then you're going to work on going deeper. Step 2, sections 1 and 2. I could say questions 1 and 2, but I'm not sure there's questions there. So anyway, sections 1 and 2 of going deeper, step 2. That's your homework. That's what you're going to share in the breakout rooms next week. All right, I'm going to stop sharing and open it for conversation here. All right, Kay, to you.
I
There you
am
go.
super confused, Cher, because I don't know, with my breakout room, I was just talking about what you put in the slide where it's about a movie or something, and I didn't understand a word. It's it's like a shock to me, what it says, feels betrayed and avoids him. The slide that you just showed a moment ago does not want a relationship, begins to realize his kindness and falls in love with him. Maybe I have to see the movie because I don't remember the movie, but I mean, what I want to say is this is terrible, it's really sad for me, I feel betrayed with the slightest thing, the slightest minimal thing. I feel betrayed. That's what that's what it said here. Feels betrayed and avoids others. That's what you're trying to explain in this movie, or
Well,
am I
mostly
wrong?
your relationship with your greater power. And I'm going to say there probably is a connection. If you feel betrayed by the slightest thing, there may be a betrayal feeling even toward your greater power too. I don't know.
No, sort of, but not really. Not really betrayed by the higher power. If that's only talking about the higher power, what you posted here, I agree with you. I
Okay.
agree with what it says here. Where I was confused is with others. Always looking as a type 8 for my type. According to my type, I act towards others. No, that was my question then. But isn't it the same, the higher power? Well, I don't know, to myself and to others, what I have inside goes outside. Is not the same?
I don't think it's the same, but certainly I think it's related. But I will say so many people that were raised religious, they were raised in a religious home, they were given a religion, all of that, very often will go through what I talked about, because there's almost this sense that that cannot be what I believe. I really honor the people that are raised in a religion and stay in that religion, and that's good. I wasn't raised religious at all, so I never had to break away from anything, right? So I have kind of avant-garde views of God, and that's fine, but they work for me. And when I say that I am the opposite of evangelical, I not only believe that you do have a different view of God, you should have a different view of God. You have different experiences. So my little drop in the ocean is going to feel completely different about the ocean than your little drop in the ocean. It's just, that's the way it works, right? And it's supposed to be that way, I think. So, and once again, I spend a lot of time expressing my opinion. And if you pick up on it, great. If you don't, that's fine. There's no harm done there. But yes, I was talking about that very often in movies, right? There's the meet cute and there's whatever, like there's an arc of the movie, and it usually begins with some kind of conflict, and then eventually there's a realization, unless this is a horror movie or something, there's a realization of the kindness or grace or something of a person, and then eventually they fall in love, and then life is good. And I think we have almost a story arc like that with our higher power too. Usually what happens is when we are afraid of doubting, when we are afraid to say, today, I'm not even sure what I believe. Okay, that's growth. Good. Let's work on that. And those are beautiful things to have happen. And I used to be afraid of them. I thought I had to be this very strict. It's like, no, because that it poses something in front of you, and then you get the opportunity to solve it. You get, well, even if we don't solve it. My sponsor used to say, because I would say if somebody had their spouse died or something, right? She said, because I'm like, what do you say to someone like that? It's so horribly sad. What do you say to them? She said, well, I never say it's going to be okay, because it may never be okay again. But I will tell them, you'll be okay. You'll be okay. Because guess what? Right? We stand up, we get up, we fall down, we get up, right? And I will be okay. It may never be okay again. And that's okay. That's called life. Right. And so I think we can embrace that. And I'm telling you, the older I get, the more I'm talking to God all the time. Right. Because I need that. I need the solace of kindness. My husband is a very kind man, which is, I'm very fortunate of that. But yeah, but the everlastingness of something so much greater, especially because I'm always trying to solve shit, right? And I can't solve anything. There's no such thing. It's a temporary solution that I come up with for everything. So anyway, Kay, I hope I was helpful in
No, you
some way.
were. You were. You
Okay.
were. Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you. Melissa, to you.
Well, I got so much out of that slide about the movie Pride and Prejudice because that's been my direct experience with my relationship with my higher power directly. And I was so mad at him during high school because I was raised Catholic, and my understanding of God was that he was just this big old judge in the sky recording every wrongdoing, and I couldn't be good enough for him. Well, guess what? That was my earthly father. So that's exactly how I experienced my higher power. And it wasn't until I went to treatment and they had me put my higher power on a chair, and first my dad on a chair in front of me. And I was slithering when my dad was on the chair. And I'm so sorry. I'm such a screw up. And then higher power goes on the chair and I'm railing against him, going, I hate you. You've never been that for me. And it was very extraordinary to me. I had to deconstruct my higher power in my mind in order to build a better one, but I had to know where I was starting from. So that was very, very useful. That what you put on the slide was so helpful. And the characters I relate to the most in the Bible, and I have not read the Bible much, but when I do read it, there are certain characters that stand out. Mary Magdalene is one because, and then the other one is Doubting Thomas. He would not believe until he got to put his finger in the wound, going, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. That's me. I did not, I wanted, and my priest friends would go, you need a burning bush, don't you? I go, yeah. Why did Moses get one? I mean, I freaking need one. I wanted that proof. Now I had to slow my roll and say, maybe the burning bush is going to show up in different ways for me. So whenever I've worked with sponsees in the program and they're really stuck on step 2, I say, this is your scavenger hunt time to figure out how you might experience God. It's different from everybody and it's very personal. And when you find a little tiny instance of it, consider it like a little pearl that's going to go on a strand that only you wear. And that's your pearl necklace. Okay. So it may take a year, it may take a month. I don't care how long it takes, but you're on a journey. And this week, a friend of mine took his life. A friend of mine from high school in Las Vegas took his life. It has really hit me because it's like the wake, the reverberations. I reached out to all the friends in his class. He was one class ahead of me. I've reached out to them individually saying, I cannot imagine what this is like for you. I'm feeling it and I'm sorry. And then it was in church this morning, it was kind of put inside my mind as maybe I could have a Zoom call in a couple weeks with these friends and we can just process this a little, and I'll ask people to bring a memory and maybe a prayer or a poem, whatever they want to bring. There's need for closure. We don't get to talk. And so that might be my little gift to James as he's in the other realm now. And I just wanted to share that. That's me, the creative alchemist, trying to make something out of something painful and not running away from it. I go toward it. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. And I want to say too, one of the most comforting phrases, I guess, in the big book is when Bill W. says, do you believe or are you willing to believe? Even just being willing to believe is a start, right? And which is where I started. I was willing to believe that my life could be better. I was willing to believe that there is a greater power, right? And all of that. It's probably hard for all types for different reasons. For an 8, to give control. So hard, so hard. Rosalind, to you, go ahead.
Hi. A minute ago, you just hit something, Cheryl, when you said what you just outlined was my fear. You said something to the fact that I'm looking for something in the situation that I want. And the reason, and I'm not saying it the way you said it, but the reason I'm looking for something is I'm always feeling unworthy. I'm always feeling like I'm not worth it. Um, and that may never come. Yeah, that may never come. I have to be okay with me. Looking for that other thing to make me valued, to make me be okay, to make me whatever may never come. And the way you put it is you're learning to be okay with you. And so yeah, I when you said it a minute ago, it was like
So, and I will say it's a celebration of wholeness, not a search for what is missing.
thank you.
Yeah, and I thought that
Thank
was
you.
just so beautiful because I go through and read the other things so that I have some idea of what other people are, instead of just this time around, I'm not just sticking with 8, which is what I did last time, right? This time I'm actually looking at the other types too to see if there's something there. And I wanted to use that. So instead, it becomes a celebration of wholeness and not a search for what is missing,
And
and
going
I love that.
deeper, yes, and going deeper is identifying where I still get that old default that says, "Oh, you're not worthy. Oh, they don't, they're not doing this," or, I have to be okay with what someone else does for me or how they treat me or whatever the case may be. But I love that to celebrate of your weakness, not a search for what you're missing. I wrote that down different, but yeah, thanks,
Yeah,
Cheryl.
celebration of wholeness, not a search for what is missing. And I
Yeah.
think even that, even this, what we say to ourselves throughout the day, which is why I have the Eeyore and the Tigger, because the Eeyore is like, what is missing? What is missing? What is right? And it's like, stop. That
Mhm,
use your
mhm.
mantra. I have
Yeah,
everything I need in this moment to grow.
yeah.
The 4, right? It's like,
Eh,
and it's so weird to think that's the same thing like being if I'm willing to ask that, to say the mantra instead of ask that question,
yeah, yeah.
what will happen?
Right.
Might
And
be
what I
cool
get
things.
and what I get today now is liberty. I'm getting liberty. I'm no longer disappointed and uncomfortable, and I retract or retreat into my own self. I'm getting liberty to be who I am.
Yeah,
And yeah, so it's coming for me. So thank you.
awesome. Thank you. That's awesome. Okay, Teresa, to you. Thank you, Rosalind.
Yeah, with the mantra, I was as a 2, ask for what you need and ask again for the best. Love comes from a fill well. I've been trying to fill my own well my whole life, even though as a little girl, when something happened to me, I felt like God was there at 10 years old. I knew it, but I didn't know, but I just knew I was safe. The thing is, with me as a 2, I thought I surrendered, and it's not like really till recently that I am really praying and willing and like saying I'm giving it all away. Because as a 2, I would be, yeah, I have this relationship. I trust God, but then I didn't, because I would jump there and say, well, you know what? I'll do it. I'll just do it, because that's what I do as a 2. You're not doing a good job, so I'll be the caretaker and fix this. But it's not like till recently that I'm really trying to learn what willing and surrender. I mean, like surrender everything, and that's been my prayer lately. Because the only way I could get my well filled is through God, through higher power, if I'm willing to. But so
Yeah.
thank you. That was really good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. Yeah, and I think, okay, so everybody remember that it's step 2, sections 1 and 2 is what you're doing for next week. So I covered some step 2 kind of things today, right? And it maybe to you it doesn't stutter step. It does to me because I'm so used to covering it after, and now I'm covering it before. But I do think that's what allows people to go deeper. So anyway, we'll see if it works or not. Thank you, Teresa. All right, Freddie, to you, and then Cheryl.
I So I have a foundation of believing in God, and I come from a family that is Catholic. So I fight the patriarchy of it, and you know,
Mhm.
but I really have this strong like heart space for who I say Mama Mary, the Blessed Mother, etc. But so willing, yeah, absolutely, bang bang, I got this. Like, let's move on to step 3. But I don't, because my actions show that I don't have this willingness. I'm still grasping like this, like a toddler with like balled up fists. Like, I am not relinquishing control, damn it. It's mine and you can't take it. But on the other side of that, it's also this, I made my bed, I have to lay in it. Like, I can't trust somebody else to like clean up my mess. And then there's the other thought of, there are people that are like, I'm suffering mentally and in heartache and emotionally, but there are people that are suffering. Like, God doesn't have time to worry about me in my headspace over trauma that happened, is acknowledged, and needs to move forward. Not belittling it, but just saying, what happened has happened, and now I'm almost 50, and let's now move forward. God has to help children that are starving and dying and everything. He doesn't have room for me. So that's this quandary. But I believe that I absolutely know there's a higher power, whatever each Hollywood square believes in. And I'm totally open to all those faiths. But I've witnessed things and I feel things that I know there's something. But my actions aren't, it's like belief, but the action isn't there. Herb K
So,
says, watch your feet for the action, and I watch my feet and they're not moving like they should be moving.
so a couple of things. So the could and would is what I'd like you to focus on. This, why would God help you, right? With that. So the could, I think you've got down. The would, that I had to do that. I had to separate that out and come up with why he would. And it's like, if you've ever watched a mother that has 8 kids, it's an amazing thing to watch, especially a really good mother that has 8 kids, takes care of the needs of all 8 kids at the same time. And a mother that has one child looks at that and goes, how do you even do that? Right. And so imagine God is like a million times bigger than that. It can handle all kinds of things. At least I have to do that. The other thing I want to say is I have changed steps. I don't believe that step 1 is about surrender. And that's probably because I'm an 8, because the chance of me walking into the rooms and surrendering anything, because surrender says you give something up to someone or something. What? Who? And what is it I'm giving up? There is no way. 1 is not surrender. That is a mistake that people besides Bill W have taken. 1 isn't about surrender. We don't surrender until 3 or 7, maybe even, right? We don't surrender that early, because who am I surrendering to and what is it that I'm surrendering? I'm not willing to do that. So that is what allows me to open that up and just say, I'm not surrendering anything yet. I'm acknowledging that I'm powerless over reality. That doesn't belong to me, right? So I have this little thing that says mine and not mine, mine and not mine. They're drawers, right? Most of the things are in the not mine box. Very few are in the mine box, right? So it's like, this is not, this doesn't belong to me, right? So it's over there. And it's funny because lately I've heard many people use the phrase, he's a pimple on my ass. And I laugh. I love that because it's the truth. That, right? No, not even mine. So the whole idea of surrender is, when it's time for us to surrender that, a surrender is not forward moving. It is a release of things. It's a relaxing into it, which we cannot do in step 1 and 2. We can't do it. There's no possible way for us to do that type of, right? That doesn't come till later. Nor do we. So to expect ourselves for it to come now, no, don't, no. Doesn't matter how many times we've been through the steps, until we can do that release, just that, give it to God, just that. And what's interesting is God, at least in my life, God is working all the time. I'm just not smart enough to see it. I don't get to see it until later. And I look back and go, oh, that was awesome. But I didn't see it, right? This is why we come here, because that gives us an opportunity to see it. So you're in the right place, Freddie. I'm glad you're here. Thank you, dear. Go ahead, Cheryl.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see everybody. My hand almost came down 4 different times
because what I was going to say is not helpful, not inspirational to anybody, and no one wants to listen to you, Cheryl, if you don't have helpful advice. But I kept my hand up, so that's one. And number two, I just have to tell everybody, as a type 4 who feels insecure and not cared for, not acknowledged. I could go on and on and on. Everybody knows about type 4. I got the leader to myself in our breakout rooms. I got all the attention. It was just on me, and I was cared for, and I was listened to, and I felt amazing. Nobody else was in the room but me and the breakout leader. I enjoyed my 4 today. Thank you. Thank you for making my day, and thanks for all the wonderful shares today.
Thank you, Cheryl. Yeah, it is interesting letting the breakout rooms, letting God manage the breakout rooms, right? I think that's one of those things without us controlling it, just like we rolled dice. It was awesome. Thank you, Cheryl. All right, Lori, to you, and then Alhelm, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, thank you for this topic, Cher. Regarding our higher power, it was a very difficult thing for me when I came into program because at 60 years old, well, I came in at 50, but could not deal with anything about God. Came back in at 60 and was desperate enough. And my take, what I had to do was just act as if. I saw what I wanted in the rooms. I saw that people in the rooms had surrendered, had turned their had focused on a spiritual life. And I don't it's hard for me to explain my spiritual path. It is, but it's not a deity or that of any kind. It's just a spiritual thing. And all I can say is to me, once I found this, is that spiritual, that spirit, that higher power in my life, and it's in everyone else's life, but might look different. Who knows? My idea is that we all have the same higher power. It's just we have a different way of looking and seeing and building that relationship, whether it's through church or through chanting and Buddhism and prayer, meditation, or whether I quoted it in the chat. There's a well-known atheist in Overeaters Anonymous, and his idea of his higher power is just the ideals of love, beauty, truth, and justice. And to me, there's nothing more than that I need, that I desire, that I want in this world is those 4 things. So anyway, I think, and the idea too is that oftentimes we don't surrender to our higher power until after step 9, because that's where we've done all the work and we became willing to make that surrender. And I'm continuing to surrender, and I'm learning more. And I'm learning that I just came to the epiphany that I don't do step 11 at all, any part of it. And that is my spiritual connection. And I am finding a way to bring that into my daily routine. But I think and remembering that step 3 is made a decision to turn our will and our lives over. Making a decision is not actually doing it. All we're doing is choosing to decide to make that effort and make that do the work. But anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Okay, Elham, to you.
Yes, thank you so much. I wanted to say, I believe God belongs to people who believe in it. I know many people, they believe in God and they get a lot of positive support with that connection. And there are people don't believe it, and they don't have uh, uh, that kind of peace. So if I just want to say, maybe deep inside, I don't care if there is a God or not, but I care if I believe in it is good for me. So that can help me to don't fight with it, just accept it. And I believe for me, my higher power is my goodness. It's within myself. It's not somewhere up there I have to reach and connect. It's within myself. And that is all of the things I learned, all the positive feeling I have about myself and others, and uh, all the good things that I can do for other people. That is my higher power. And if I believe I have a higher power, I have it. That's all I want to say.
Yeah, there's an old movie called Secondhand Lions. If you haven't seen it, it is well worth watching. But there's a line in there where the guy says, some things are worth believing in, whether they're true or not. I don't get to decide whether God is true or not. I don't get to decide that, but it is well worth my life believing it. It makes my life dramatically better. And I have to say, tied back to what Lori said too, is I'm just awful at just taking the time. I'm retired. I used to work 70 hours a week. I'm retired now. I have time. But to take the time and actually focus on the thing, right? It's like, oh, I just am awful at it. But guess what? Just this little bit, 70 times 70, right? Just this little bit, just this willingness, just a little bit of willingness. And you know what happens? The right things show up in my life. The good things show up in my life. You guys show up in my life. That is what happens because I'm willing. And so it's not even, and for an 8 who wants to take action all the time, it's like almost like this release that Rosalind's talking about. Like, I'm like, okay, I can just kind of be and God is there. Right now, will I always just be and God is there? Well, yeah, I mean, he'll always be there. No, I'll probably take the reins again, bull by the horns. That's like my style. It's what I do. Yeah, so I think that's pretty cool. Okay, so a couple of things. I'm going to have Joy share and Melissa share. We'll stay on a little bit to see if anybody wants me to walk you through homework. We can do that in 5 minutes. That's not a problem. Melissa, I saw that there's chat going on that you're going to do some kind of meeting for the 4s after to decide when to meet, right? Is that what that is? Okay, so Joy, go ahead, and then Melissa, if you want to share, and you can share whatever you want. Go ahead, Joy.
Just wanted to share a little bit about my relationship with my higher power. I definitely went through this resistance, and it's developed into a relationship, which I'm not perfect at. But I came to believe in a higher power that could and would restore me to sanity. But but th but through the process of the steps and working them, my higher power was not was not enough. Why? Because it was only like 99%. There was still a question. There was still, how could I still have this disease? How could wars still be happening? How could there be starving people and sex trafficking and all those things? And through some work, for myself, what I believe is that God, at least in my eyes, does not intervene. That's why in the physical world, I believe that I can get the strength, willingness, and desire from a higher power, and that God will always give me those things when I ask. And the second slide you shared, there is a very important part, and it's underlined and bolded, and says that is how we react so long as we keep in fit spiritual condition. And that is my truth. I will not have to worry about the food. I do not have to worry about the food if I will keep in fit spiritual condition. And what happens to me is my two-ness, pleasing others and not God first, trying to please others in one form or another, is what gets in my way. Uh, I want to make sure everything is done for you name it, whether it's Surrender School or Eric or Dan or so one of my friends. I put that in front rather than my time with God. And so it was brought up today so much about the 11th step. And I'm grateful that I have this relationship that I can get in contact. And I am going to really work on that because I still have trouble with food at times. And I really do believe it's because I don't keep in fit spiritual condition. I get there, but I don't stay there. Thank you for letting me share. Thanks for recovering with us.